Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko. Welcome to Sons of UCF Live at our new time, 9 o'clock. Adam Eaton on assignment joining us this week. Bailey Adams of the Pegasus Podcast. Bailey, welcome into Sons Live.
I appreciate it, Trace. Thanks for having me.
First-time host, previous guest.
Yes, a lot of pressure. There's more pressure when you're a host than a guest.
You are now, of those that watch the Pegasus Podcast faithfully, the more cerebral, the more rational of the pair between you and Christian Simmons. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Some would say, yeah, we always make the joke that like if there were two of me, it'd be so boring and no one would listen. And if it was two of him, it would be too much and no one would listen. So we strike the right balance, I think.
Is this a uniform-free zone, or maybe we'll cover it somewhere along the line?
I don't know. I got the drip U thing behind me. I like to represent a little bit, so I can chime in here for Christian since he's not here.
On the most recent Pegasus podcast, you all talked about Johnny Dawkins men's basketball. They get the split in Arizona. We're going to be talking about that a little bit. We are kind of in a bit of a doldrum on football, though. I'm kind of itching to have a press conference or something. See Scott Frost again.
Yeah, it's weird. It's for one, it's weird that the college football season isn't actually over yet, and it's the national championship game being on January 20th. I'm not used to it. Like it feels like it should be done by now. And then, yeah, with Scott Frost, it's, I guess, been a little over a month now since he got here, but feels like a lot has happened in that last month. And it feels like it's already been such a long off season, and it hasn't been, unfortunately.
We haven't even gotten really going into the offseason. No. How long ago was it since Black Friday against Utah? That was quite a while ago.
We were talking about it the other day, and it was the lack of a bowl game meant the offseason started a month earlier. So it's just we're already a month in, but we're only in mid-January. So,
yeah. Well, some news. It's always good when you have Sons UCF Live on a Thursday that you have a little breaking news. Department of Education issuing a memo regarding Title IX, NIL money, and what the schools will pay athletes. Big conclusion in this one is that NIL compensation must be made proportionally between male and female athletes. Just one of many things that's going to prompt a lawsuit when that House settlement comes to be. No real surprise, right, that there are going to be curveballs along the way.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. None of this ever comes without some diversions and some different things developing. And I don't know. It felt like they were getting close to it. And yeah, now this dropping, I don't know. It's hard to keep up with for me. I mean, that's on our show. Christian is that guy, and I just let him talk about it. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, well, Terry Mohajir was asked at the press conference to introduce the new volleyball head coach about the House settlement, this thing with the athletes and what the compensation is going to be like and UCF's budgets. Let's hear from Terry Mohajir.
Well, now with rev share, and there's a cap, and it's not an arbitrary cap, it's a hard cap. That's what our goal is, and we're working through that process right now. We feel really good where we are. And volleyball will be able to take advantage of that as well. And also with some of the scholarship increases and all that, I think we're going to be in really good shape.
Yeah, and then you get a ruling like this and you don't know what it means, and change of administration coming next week, and that will mix things up as well. Question that is often asked here is, how would you distribute funds? I have to laugh when I read people on message boards saying, volleyball needs more funding. Okay. Should we take it from football? Oh, well, I can't take it from football. I want volleyball to have more funding. If you were deciding this, what's your division here of the dollars?
If we're going percentages, 75, 80, 85 for football, somewhere along 75 to 85. I don't know. I don't know what's going to get me in trouble here, but I think most of it's going to football. Some of it's going to men's basketball. And then I'm a baseball guy, but I know that's not a realistic, pursuit there. I think it'd probably be the rest of it: women's basketball, softball, and maybe some volleyball.
maybe some volleyball. You can get you one player. Here's $10,000.
Yeah.
You can get you a player. Well, I mean, this is gonna be interesting to see now what it means for the distribution of the dollars and the revenue sharing, right? A lot of this is going to go to courts, but I do find it funny. Everybody wants dollars for every program, but they don't want it to come from football, and football is going to be the one that drives the train on revenue, but it's also going to be the one that soaks up all the dollars.
Yeah, and it's such a curveball now where it's like they've probably spent all this time trying to figure it out and nail down, all right, here's how we're going to distribute it with the way things look right now. And now with this ruling or this coming out today, they've got to go back to the drawing board and figure it out again and say, all right, here's how we have to do this now. And all that work they've been doing to get on track to where they want to be, kind of out the window.
At least it throws things up in the air again. All right. Well, that's the breaking news from this Thursday. We've been continuing to break down position groups and assess what the Knights have in terms of talent. This week, I'm talking about wide receivers. I asked on my poll question, how do you grade? What's your final grade of the 2024 wide receivers? Now, mentioned in this, Bailey, Knights had 14 total touchdown receptions. Kobe Hudson led the team with 4. Kobe's gone. Jacoby Jones is gone. Hey, fair catch. Trent Whittemore is gone as well. C, 55%. D or F, 16%. I think people are being generous with the C even out of deference to Kobe Hudson. I saw a couple people vote A because they wanted to affect the curve on this one. What would be your final grade? And how much is it really the wide receivers as much as play calling and the lack of consistency at quarterback?
That's where I maybe am grading it on a curve, a little bit. Is I would say C. I would say they didn't do the best job all year long of getting open and creating separation and doing all that. But they also had to deal with 4 different quarterbacks. They had to deal with play calling that wasn't always great. And I think the quarterback situation is probably maybe the more difficult part, where it is you're going with KJ one week and then it's Shikari, and then EJ comes in for a series, but then it's Shikari, and then it's, by the end of the season, it's Dylan Risk. It's hard. I think it's hard for a receiver group that was never overly talented or overly stacked. They really had Kobe Hudson. It started with Xavier Townsend, and then it was like figure it out from there. So given all of that, I guess a C. Maybe I'm leaning down toward D now that I'm talking myself into it. But
you dropped down to D.
Yeah.
What would it have changed much the outcome, the trajectory of the season if they had Xavier Townsend for the full ride?
I don't think it would have that much, honestly. From the way he was used in that offense last year and the start of this year, it never really seemed like. I don't know. I don't know how much of it was him, how much of it was, Gus in the offensive system, but I don't think that much would have changed.
And they never really had a third guy. I mean, I mentioned Trent Whittemore there, but Trent Whittemore had a handful of catches, so he didn't really do much. I mean, tight end Randy Pittman Jr. Got the bulk of catches and scores, right? But let's transition into – these guys are all gone. Right? Yeah. Amongst many that are no longer with the Knights. And I think this is a position group, as people have been assessing, that they've been concerned about. Some transfers have come in. Day Farmer from West Virginia, Marcus Burke most recently from Florida. DJ Black from Limestone. Do you know where you were talking about Limestone on the Pegasus podcast? Where is Limestone located? Do you remember that now?
I watched last week's Sons of UCF live. It's South Carolina, I believe. I think it's South Carolina.
We'll need Clay Pasco, who's running things behind the scenes with Adam Eaton on assignment. Maybe he can fact check and get us that information later. How concerned are you about the group assembled so far? Some guys that we haven't heard a whole lot about: Burdell Richardson, Kaysen Stokes, Jordan Bridgewater. It's a whole new crew.
Yeah, I would say concerned. I'm excited, I think, about some of the upside, but I think it's more concern than excitement right now, because we don't know much about any of these guys and how they're going to fit. We also don't know who the quarterback's going to be, so that's going to play into it as well. But I think there's some exciting young talent here, but I also couldn't tell you who is going to be the starting wide receivers in week 1.
Does that give you some anticipation in a positive way for the start of spring camp, or do you think we're really going to learn a whole lot when spring camp gets underway? I mean, are we going to really be told a lot? Are they really going to learn a lot? Will they know how position groups shake out during spring?
I don't know. I'm so used to the spring ball of Gus now, Gus's tenure, where we didn't learn a whole lot. And it was, we didn't get a lot of information. We didn't get, a lot of chances to see anything. We saw a half of football in the spring game, and then they did, their races and racing horses and all that. We didn't learn a ton. I don't remember, honestly, going back and trying to think back to Scott Frost's previous tenure here. I think there was a little bit more of an open policy, but I still don't think we'll know a ton. I think we'll at least get some sense of, okay, these are the guys to keep an eye on going into fall camp, but that only goes so far.
Yeah. You know who I wish had more eligibility is former Knight Dredrick Snelson, who stops by Sons of UCF Live now to talk a little ball with us. Dredrick, are you there? Whoa. Clay, what's going on with Dredrick?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you
There
hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you. How are you, Dredrick?
I'm good. How about y'all?
Doing well. A national champion wide receiver. How much do you embrace that title, Dredrick?
Pretty good. I probably still say it to this day if it's mentioned in the conversation. Honestly,
You know, it's going to get mentioned on a show like ours. We're going to talk about that 2017 team and you being a part of it. How glad are you to have Scott Frost back in the mix as head coach of the Knights?
Very much, man. That's a good dude. That's a great dude, actually. I was very excited to hear about the news, as well as everybody else that's pretty much joining the UCF family again. So, yeah, I was pretty excited about that. I'm happy that he's back. I actually be around a lot more now.
I was wondering, Dredrick, just kind of going back and taking you back to your freshman year in 2016, what some of the first impressions you got from Coach Frost were, both in terms of his culture and also X's and O's.
Everything about him, everything he stood for, just a genuine person. Everything that he did within the program, as far as like holding everybody accountable, how he treated everyone with respect, how he carried himself. It just made you want to do a lot of things for him and as a player, and you had a lot of respect for him. He just held a high standard as a person and as a player, and that pretty much carried over to field athletics, academics, and throughout life itself. He was just overall like a good mentor.
And obviously a guy on his staff again this time around is Coach Becton, who I believe was one of the coaches recruiting you back then. What is it about Coach Becton that, all these years has made him able to connect with players so well?
Everything. He's a cool dude. Coach Beck actually was one of the people that recruited me to UCF, as well as Coach Walters and Frost. Throughout that whole process, even with my time at UCF, he was just overall like just a genuine person as well. A good person at heart, was there for me when I needed him as a coach, as a person in general. Yeah, just overall, that whole staff just are good people. Got a lot of respect for them.
You mentioned the recruiting process. Take us back to that time. What was the pitch? Why UCF at that time?
I think I admire the whole idea of playing in an offense like Oregon, and I seen that Coach Frost was one of the coaches throughout that program. And when I heard the news that he got the job at UCF, and he called me immediately, and it was just like a dream come true. And I told him, like, I kept my word that I would love to play for somebody like him, and throughout that system. And yeah, we just went on from there. I kept my word to him throughout that process.
What is it about the Scott Frost style of offense that works so well for a guy like you?
Honestly, for me, I feel like it worked for anybody that's on the field in his offense. I mean, everyone is equally, get plenty of opportunities. I feel like he just knows how to put people in position to succeed on the field. And I feel like with his system, he knows how to use different player dynamics. And yeah, I feel like everyone gets the ball in his offense. Like he feeds everybody. He's just a good system. I love his system. If he still is running the same system, I like it.
How much, and so going back to 2016 and I guess especially into that 2017 team, there were a lot of young guys, a lot of good veteran talent, but a lot of young guys like yourself. And obviously you guys went from no wins in 2015, 6 wins in 2016, and 13 in 2017. When you were that young and stepping into college football, how did that coaching staff kind of build up confidence for you and some of the other younger players to make it such an impact so quickly?
I feel like it was during a lot of the off season where we held each other accountable during the workouts, in the classroom, and just in general as teammates and as friends. I feel like that played a part in the connection we had to make each other want to succeed on and off the field. Because Coach Frost had a motto, like one of our mottos was protect the brother to your left and to your right, on and off the field. And I think we all lived by that, and we didn't want any of our guys, to just fall behind or just anything of that nature. So we pretty much didn't want to let any one of us down. So we kept that standard with each other.
And obviously, throughout that 2016 season, your freshman year, there were some ups and downs, but then everything ramped up into 13 wins and the perfect season, the national championship in 2017. How much did that first year where you got to get some playing time, kind of get your feet wet in college? How much did that time in 2016 help when it came to making a bigger impact the next season?
It was good. I actually had to be humble and wait my time because I didn't play like immediately. But when I got my opportunities, I took full advantage of it. So I think just learning the dynamics of how college football works. Sometimes you won't just get in and just play as a true freshman. Sometimes, or you just got to learn the offense, or like some things of that nature. So when I got in, I feel like I just took full advantage of my opportunity, and it played a major part going into my sophomore year. But I think I finished out my freshman year very strong when I got my opportunities.
It's hard to believe, Dredrick, that it's 2025. Does it seem like it's been that long ago since you played at UCF?
Yeah, it does. But honestly, man, I still feel young. So yeah, it does feel like a while, but I still go back and watch my highlights every now and then. It doesn't seem that long ago. But now that Frost is back, it all just feel like he didn't even leave, honestly. So
Hmm.
yeah.
That's an interesting. I think that speaks to fans as well that feel that there was a couple of guys in between, but maybe it's still Frost's team, right? How we know what it's like for fans. How's it like for you as a former player to see the program get to a point where it's 4-8, the bowl streak is snapped, and the change in coaching and all the exodus of players? I mean, there's sort of a bottom now here after many years of success.
I mean, honestly, yeah, it's I feel like that just comes with the game of football. I mean, it changes drastically. I feel like nobody has really control over the coaching staff. Only thing as a player you can do if you choose to go to that school is to go out there and perform. I mean, I get the coaches have a big hearsay or what goes on, but I feel like as a player, you just need to go out there and perform and do what you can to just show what you can do. Honestly, I mean, a lot of stuff can happen throughout football. So, and I mean, that's just the game. Business wise, athletically, anything that comes with it. I mean, that's what we all signed up for. So, pretty much, we don't have any control over that. But just go out there
How
and take advantage of it.
How different does the game feel to you now? We were talking earlier about NIL, and you've seen the movement of players and the transfer portal. It's really a lot different than when you played.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wish, of course, I'm sure everybody already said it, but I wish we had it when we were on our little run. Going undefeated and stuff like that, even when I was in school. But I mean, it happens. I'm glad like we paved the way for not just us at UCF, but college athletes across the world, paved the way for kids to be in that position right now. And yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm glad to see that they're getting paid for their talents, because that's just how it works. I mean, it's a business out here, so I feel like it's a good thing that's going on right now.
Judge, you mentioned going back and watching some of your highlights sometimes. Man, I do it too. I was a student at the time, 2016 through 2019. So I obviously have fond memories. I can only imagine what it was like for you. But I mean, you had 5 touchdowns, I believe, over the final three game stretch and against USF, Memphis, and Auburn. Those 3 games, I think that was one of the crazier 3 game stretches I can remember of any time of watching football in my life. Can you kind of just take us through those 3 games? I know it was over more than 3 weeks, but those 3 games to end that season and what that was like for you guys?
That was the sophomore season, correct?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean that was a crazy time. That was the time when we played Auburn and stuff like that. I feel like that was I gotta give credit, just to Coach Frost. I mean, he like I said, he put people in position to, succeed with his offensive style, his play calling. I feel like, all the talent we had on our team is just it was just bound to happen. If it wasn't me, it was somebody else. Honestly, that's pretty much all that comes with that. I mean, it's just a great system to play in, and that's really it. I mean, it was a good time at that when that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what was so unique about that time too, obviously there's the thrilling game against USF to end the season, get you guys into the conference championship game. Then you win that in double overtime. And then there's this month period where you find out, obviously after the game, that Coach Frost is leaving for Nebraska and he's coming back and forth between Nebraska and Orlando, helping. What was that month like seeing, Coach Frost and the whole staff going back and forth to finish things out the right way with you guys?
Honestly, me personally, I didn't really get into the aspect of him believing of him leaving, honestly, until we played our final game at Memphis. I didn't really pay attention to what was going on. I mean, people talk and stuff like that, but ultimately, we didn't have any control over that. I respected him no matter what, and I told, like, when we had our talk, I told him I still respected his decision because it's a business at the end of the day, and it was for his family. And still to this day, like, we're not upset about it. I mean, it sucks that he had to leave, but it is what it is at this point. And I still have mad respect for him. It was a good decision. You know what I mean? Family first, and we respected it. As long as we went out with a bang like we did, and we gave them a win and a season that's unforgettable, pretty much to everybody, the fans, family. Just that was a special year for him, for us, and I'm just glad we made it happen.
Not only is Scott Frost back, Mackenzie Milton is back in the football
Yeah.
office. What do you think of KZ being in a coaching position now?
That's my guy, man. All I can say is touchdowns, touchdowns, touchdowns. That's all we're gonna see coming in that stadium. KZ was the right guy for that job. Being on the Frost, especially what we did. He understands what needs to be done as a coach. What guys needed, what type of guys need to be in that program to, just make it happen again. Because he's been in a winning culture. He knows what it takes. Overall, a good dude, man. That's my guy. So you'll definitely be seeing me around a lot more with him as well. I'm just glad he's back. I mean, UCF feel like it's coming together once again, like the old days. I'm not gonna say the old days because we're still young, but
Don't say the old days.
yeah, like, a couple of years ago.
Could you see it then that KZ would one day coach?
Honestly, yeah, man. We talked about it. I know. I mean, it wasn't like a ultimate surprise because when he went to Tennessee, ultimately we know what that leads into. As far as coaching wise. So it wasn't that much of a surprise. Once we had his, that minor setback. Well, that's what I say because he still was able to go out there and finish his college season strong. We went to Tennessee and pursued that career, so we knew he would eventually find his way back to UCF. And when I seen the whole thing on Twitter with Coach Frost possibly coming back, I just knew it was bound to happen. So
what are you up to now? Bring us up to speed on you.
oh man, I'm chilling, man. I can't call it. I just be at home. I'm creating a few businesses. I'm in entrepreneurship right now, and just really just taking care of my family. That's it.
That's good. And you said you're going to be back around a little bit more.
Yeah, man. I honestly might move back to Orlando probably towards September. I like Orlando. It felt like home to me. And I've been there for a while, so might actually shift back that way, especially with everything that's going around, especially around Orlando with UCF and everything. So I want to pretty much involve myself back with like the program.
Notre Dame, Ohio State. Who you got?
Ohio State, 100%.
Bet the house.
A house. I bet in the house, the car, everything that come with it, everything. Ohio State will win 1,000%.
You heard it from national champion Dredrick Snelson. Good enough to spend some time with us on Sons of UCF Live. Dredrick, good to hear from you.
Appreciate y'all, man. Y'all appreciate y'all having me. It's good to see y'all too again.
All right, go Knights.
Go Knights.
All right, thank you, Dredrick. All right. That's a wide receiver right there, Bailey. Yeah. Can we get him a little more eligibility? No knocking these new guys, and these new guys may emerge and be the future Dredrick Snelsons, Marlon Williams, and the like, but that guy could catch.
Yeah, no, I mean, I miss watching him play. I remember that one. The one I remember about him was, I think it was almost where his like back was parallel to the ground. I think it was the USF game where he catches one in the end zone and falls hard on his back. But a fun player to watch and throughout his whole time there. I know he downplayed. I think he made more of an impact as a freshman than he kind of was talking about there, but especially down the stretch, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and I like how you brought up those 3 games, that 3-game stretch. I mean, in that championship game against Memphis, he had a couple of touchdowns. When you're scoring 62 points, a lot of guys have touchdowns, right? And the points against South Florida earlier in the week, the lead up to that game, and that was good times. I miss that offense.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know what it's going to look like, this time around. I know Coach Frost, hinted that it would be a little bit different this time around, but man, I do go back and watch it sometimes just to see what that was like again.
You watch highlights, or have you gone back and watched a full game?
Both, really. I watch highlights more often, but when I'm really missing football in the off season, if I can find a full game on YouTube, I'll go back and watch them, and it's just something to have on at least.
Yeah, and that 3-game stretch that you mentioned, that's a pretty good reintroduction to Scott Frost in that time frame. We're going to transition now into a little bit of basketball talk. Things heating up in the Big 12 for the Knights. Let's turn to Jeff Allen in our Big 12 Minute first.
As part of the National Football Foundation's announcement of the 2025 College Football Hall of Fame class, here are the players who have current and past ties to the Big 12. Quarterback Graham Harrell played at Texas Tech University 2005 to 2008. And defensive back Michael Huff from 2000 to 2005, he was at Texas. The induction of the 2025 Hall of Fame class, which is headlined by legendary head coach Nick Saban, takes place on December 9th in Las Vegas. The Big 12 basketball schedule for the weekend shakes out like this. On Saturday, Kansas State and number 9 Kansas square off at 1 o'clock on CBS. Arizona travels to Texas Tech, 2 o'clock on ESPN2. Arizona State takes on Cincinnati, 2 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Oklahoma State hosts Colorado, 3 o'clock on ESPN+. Number 2 Iowa State visits West Virginia, 5 o'clock on ESPN+. BYU battles Utah, 9 o'clock on ESPN+. On Sunday, number 25, Baylor entertains TCU at 5 o'clock on ESPN. UCF kicks off the basketball weekend on Saturday against a longtime rival, the 10th-ranked Houston Cougars. That will be a 12 noon tip at AdFi on CBS Sports Network. With your Big 12 Minute, I'm Jeff Allen.
And that one as well, Bailey. Put you on the spot now. Are you subscribed to the Sons of UCF's new newsletter?
I am, yes.
Correct answer. Yeah. Of course, you could have told me anything.
Oh, no. I can show you if you need proof.
No, I believe you. Volume 8, called Hot and Cold, out now. Adam penned it, breaking down men's basketball. Some things that still concern him, but felt a little bit better the other night. Wee hours of the morning as men's basketball got by Arizona State 95-89. Keyshawn Hall, 40 points. Just an unbelievable performance. We had a 1-2 punch out at media availability Thursday. Our new intern, Dwayne Jones, as well, Andrew Cherico. And Mr. Cherico files this report.
Andrew Cherico here for the Sons of UCF. I'm in Addition Financial Arena after media availability with UCF men's basketball head coach Johnny Dawkins and players on Thursday. The Knights split in their road trip to Arizona, losing to the Wildcats and beating the Sun Devils behind a 40-point performance from UCF forward Keyshawn Hall, one of the best performances UCF has ever seen. Now it all resets for the Knights as they have a tough home game against Houston.
We're trying to find ways to win. And so for us, that's what we're focused on. We have opportunities, like an opportunity with a really good Houston team coming in, and we have to prepare for it like that.
We're super hungry for this, but we're not going to try to put Houston on a higher pedestal than anyone else. They're a basketball team, Big 12 team, just like any other Big 12 team.
Oh, yeah, we're for sure. We're ready for those type of environments. It's really nothing to us. Ready for a fight.
Remember the last time UCF hosted a ranked opponent? That forgettable blowout loss against Kansas? The Knights will now have a second chance to stamp a signature win as they host number 10 ranked Houston Saturday at 12 p.m. Until next time, I'm Andrew Cherico for the Sons of UCF.
Bailey, you know that on Thursdays, if you get bow tie Ben Hazel, it's coming out of a win. And that is what we have with this win over Arizona State. Let's bring in Ben. Ben, good to see you on Suns Live. Got some audio there, Ben. It's a live show, Bailey.
To be here.
There you are, Ben. Bow tie Ben Hazel. Hello.
How's it going? Good dub the other day, so it's all good vibes on this side.
That's right. Before we get into that, let's talk about the big news, though. Saturday, you're going to be a little busy during that game. What are you going to be doing? Share with folks who may not have heard yet.
So got the opportunity to work with the UCF production team, the athletic department. So we're putting together the pregame show. They asked me to come on and pretty much do what I do with you guys. Since they love the show so much, they said, hey, come do it with us too. So I'm excited about it. First men's kind of coverage, on the pre-tape. So it'll be fun.
Good deal. Good for you. Congratulations. We're looking forward to seeing you on Saturday for that one. All right. Keyshawn Hall, 40 points. Ben, unbelievable performance into the wee hours of the morning on the East Coast the other night.
I mean, it was ridiculous. Like, it was something I've never seen before, right? Like, I mean, every shot, it's the efficiency that was so impressive. Like, he just didn't miss a shot. But what was so cool about it was that he did it in every different type of way, which we said he can be effective doing that, right? When he's able to, his first 3 baskets were just post-ups, getting a mismatch by running the floor extremely hard, calling for the ball, posting up so hard that he just held his position, caught the ball, shot 3 layups to start after turning it over on his first touch. So it's like, it seemed like he settled in. The number one thing for Keyshawn now is, can he give us one at home? Can he just give us one of those performances at home? Because so far, he's looked like a completely different person on the road. And the home fans deserve a good one.
That's right. You could make the argument, though, that maybe UCF shouldn't have won this game, right? Out without Mustafa Tiam, and they got into foul trouble. I mean, I don't know how Johnny Dawkins and staff patched together a lineup that hung together long enough to hold off Arizona State.
You could see him. He looked exhausted. You look like Coach Dawkins looked like he just played. I mean, the way they figured it out is what you applaud, right? Like, that's what you're going to need. Just any way, any type, just do what needs to be done to get the W. So you're happy with that, of course, at this part of the season. But allowing teams to shoot 52% from the field and 50% from the 3, is not the recipe for long-term success in this conference. So that's why he looked exhausted, because there was a lot of blown coverages, especially on the defensive end. I mean, allowing teams to shoot the ball that well and still win is the more miraculous part. But you got to tighten that up, especially with the team we got coming in this weekend.
Yeah, Coach. I mean, this was a 95-89 game, and a lot of this season has been games like that. And Coach Dawkins, obviously, in the past, these teams have been so heavy on defense, and you're seeing the flip side right now, where they're scoring like crazy, but also the defensive efficiency isn't there as much. Is that, to you, a more of a product of these players, or is it just kind of the league they're in now, or is it some combination of both?
I would say both, right? So you got guys that are getting put in different matchups than they probably were before, right? Like even a Keyshawn being a 6'7", pretty strong forward in the A10 is somebody that's guarded differently in the Big 12, as you see when you're getting guarded by KJ Adams, right? And the Houston unit that's coming your way. So the matchups are just completely different. How guys attack you is completely different. But then also just that buy-in and understanding that it is different. So you do need to be a lot more locked in. And I think that's been the biggest difference you see when you see Keyshawn kind of have those mental lapses on defense. You see Jordan Ivy Curry. You expect it from the freshmen and some of the transfers like JJ Taylor. But some of those veteran guys, you're like, we kind of need you to start paying attention to a little more of those details so teams don't shoot 50% from the three-point line against us.
Absolutely. And I think what was so interesting to me about the game the other night was that 40-point performance, obviously, but then you see down the stretch, you see Darius Johnson making a lot of those key plays that we've grown, accustomed to seeing him make. But it seems like this year, more depth on this team than there has been in a while. And I know it's been a team that they've had to put together through the portal a lot, but when they don't have to rely on the same guy every night to put up, 25, 30 points, how much does that open, from a coaching standpoint where you've got more options out there?
Oh, it's amazing as a coach, right? Like you're able to do a lot of different things down the stretch. You're able to give guys rest sometimes. And I don't mean rest where they're like, hey, I'm sitting there not involved, but more of, hey, I don't need you to score every basket for us to get a swing, right? For us to get momentum back on our side. You can drive the ball like a Keyshawn, drive it and kick it and trust that the guy that you are throwing it to is pretty much as capable as you are scoring the ball, probably even better than you in different situations. So as guys get more familiar with that, you see the scoring go up, and having a veteran like Darius, I think, is what has allowed it to really blossom when he's able to really start making plays and really conserve himself as far as really forcing the issue on the scoring part towards the end of the game. And he's able to read defenses a little bit better than he has in his pretty much his whole 4 years. So you're seeing the scoring output go up. I mean, that's what was probably so upsetting against Kansas.
What did you like about J.J. Taylor's game against the Sun Devils?
His effort. The dude was just flying around. Like you could tell he wasn't thinking. He wasn't trying to, because sometimes with freshmen, you can get caught up in this mental space of, hey, I know I can make plays. I want to make plays, but I know my role isn't necessarily to be that guy, but how do I still kind of expand that role, still stay aggressive, still stay, kind of as active as you can. So you see him have flashes of it, but then sometimes he'll get to shooting some shots that you're looking at him like, I don't know if that's the one. And for this game, it seemed like it kind of clicked. And this was something that we talked about leading up to it, kind of on our last show, was guys not necessarily forcing the issue like, hey, I want to play hero ball. Is guys forcing the issue on those hustle plays, on those rebounds, on those extra effort plays. That's forcing the issue, and that's what allows your game to expand. Keyshawn going towards the basket, then kind of going towards his jump shot and doing those other things. J.J. Taylor making shots, but also getting offensive rebounds, getting in the paint, drawing fouls, like banging with guys. Those are all good signs and all things we are going to need to be competitive on Saturday.
Knights 2-1 on the road. They got the opening game on Texas Tech and then the Arizona State game, but they dropped one a couple of days earlier when they were out in Arizona at the Wildcats. What did you see in that one? I mean, they hung in there. They didn't give up in that one.
Yeah, so what we're seeing is the spread of the conference, the top half and the bottom half, right? So the issue that we have right now is that we've been able to find success against some of the bottom half teams, but with the number of teams in this conference, it doesn't necessarily do as much for you as even we might have thought coming into this season, right? So we've been able to figure it out when we have the right matchups. It's now when the intensity turns up, when we're playing that top half of the conference, showing a little bit better. Because I think we just got worn down against Arizona. Like we just hung around, like we tried to cut it down. We made a few runs, but they didn't necessarily weren't too phased, kind of stayed within themselves and just really outlasted us.
So I'm curious a little bit about that on the point of, hanging around on the road. We've seen this team do that a lot, this year and last year. Some of these tough environments. I mean, I know they played some teams pretty tight last year. They also got wins at Texas and TCU. And then this year, obviously, Texas Tech and ASU. What do you think it is with Coach Dawkins and kind of just this staff that has his teams in position to go in there and just compete? They're not winning all of them, but they're just competing at a high level. And more often than not, they're in these games.
Yeah, that's a mindset more than anything. I mean, I think you got a glimpse of it when you see Darius at the podium, when he says like, yo, I mean, Houston is Houston. They walk around with that swagger. They have this aura, but they're just a basketball team, right? Like that Coach Dawkins really sets that tone of, if you think you are an NBA player or a guy that is, wants to be accomplished, wants to be remembered, wants to do something, wants to get NIL money, these are the games that you're going to have to show up. It's simple as that. Like that's basketball, that's competition. Big players show up in big moments. And I think he stresses that and, guys embrace it.
So we're talking a little bit. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Trace.
No, I may have forgotten the order of questions. Go ahead.
We were talking a little about Darius Johnson, obviously a veteran player, but kind of going obviously to a much younger player, and Mustafa Chiam, who reclassified and is playing pretty well for a freshman who reclassified. Has it surprised you at all how quickly he's emerged as a key figure in this team, and how dangerous is it that he's starting to hit some threes here and there?
I don't think it's that dangerous when you're talking about a scouting report, right? So I know the other team's like, hey, if he makes 5 threes, hats off to him, but we're not gonna probably overreact to any early threes from him. But it is extremely helpful for us because that's free points for us. If he can knock that down, they're not gonna overreact to it. But as far as what he's been able to do, it's been extremely impressive, his motor, right? Like that's typically the jump and typically the lull or learning curve that you have when you're coming from high school to college. It's like, hey, this is the speed that I have to move at all the time. Like they stress, get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the saying that you just get acquainted with. And, first week of practice, your legs feel like they're about to fall off. You're like, yo, this is September. Like we're supposed to go till March, right? Like I'm not going to make it, but you just kind of get used to it. You see the guys around you, like a Darius Johnson, who's like working out at 6 and then coming to practice and shooting later. So you kind of just know, you get that attitude, get that mindset, push through things. So it's been really impressive. He's doing exactly what you would expect, though. When people say reclass, it's really changed for me because when I was coming up, you would have some people that reclass. That meant they were older and moved back a class. Like he moved up a class. And for bigs, that's even more insane, right? Like that's like an offensive lineman trying to go to college earlier, right? Like that physical part of the game for the bigs is a big aspect. So it was pretty interesting that he's been able to still be, so consistent with his effort, how he's been able to produce, the growth that he's showing. But he's still got a long ways to go, that's for sure. And Saturday, I can't say it enough. Like Saturday, I'm so hyped about Saturday. Just the game, like it's a big one. I think we're in a good spot. Saturday is going to be a huge test for our front court.
1 week ago on this very show, you gave an epic take, a strong rant, solid analysis. Did you see any strides on defense in the 1-1 split loss to Arizona and a win at Arizona State?
So what I will say is this. I did not see the strides that you want to see on the defensive end. But I felt like I saw the strides in the mentality from the guys, right? Like I didn't see Mikey. I've seen a lot of growth from him, just how he's trying to figure out how he can contribute, where his spots are when he wants to attack. And his ability to actually create for others, I think, is something that he's starting to find a little bit of a lane on, like, hey, this is something that I can bring to this team that we need more of. But that was clearly all offensive thoughts. Like they heard the offensive part of the rant, didn't really care too much for the defensive side. But hey, it equal to win. So, no rants this week.
I know coaches and players talk 1 game at a time. I tend to think 2 games at a time based on the schedule. This is as difficult a 2-game stretch with Houston at home Saturday and then on the road at Iowa State. That is just brutal.
It is, but hey, you got to say it's getting you ready for the conference tournament, right? It's not something you'll ever be able to duck. It's something that you hope to face again. So you hope that this is something that you put together a good showing, sneak 1, sneak 2, and just keep competing in the conference. Like this is resume building time. This is time to shock the world. This is where you prove and show. So this is where teams start ramping up, and you got to be excited about it.
Remind folks where they can see you on Saturday.
ESPN Plus will be on at 11:30 before the game. Check us out.
Is that a bow tie appearance?
Oh, of course. Yeah. For the games, it's always bow ties. I just couldn't. They asked me to wear a polo, and I said I never got one.
No. Can't be sporting a polo when you're bow tie, Ben. Ben Hazel, appreciate your analysis, and thanks for being with us on Suns Live.
Thanks for having me. Go Knights.
Charge on, Ben. All right, show of hands, all of you watching. Bailey, who stayed up till the end of that Arizona State game? the other night. Yeah, you and I were talking at 1
Foolishly.
o'clock in the morning. Yeah, we paid for
Foolishly.
it the next day, but that was an exciting one. Now they were down 51, like the Kansas game. But a lot of us probably turning in early, not seeing that one till conclusion, and then they flew back and landed in the wee hours of the morning. But West Virginia had a game the other night. Houston had a game the other night with West Virginia. So they got to come here to Orlando. You never know, right? I mean, they
Never know.
Imagine saying that the home game against number 10 Houston is your better chance of a win than at number 2 Iowa State, right?
Yeah, it's tough. It's funny he said you try to sneak 1, try to sneak 2. And I've looked at these next 4 games, the rest of this month, and I'm thinking if they can split them, if they can go 2-2 in these next 4, I'll feel really good.
But there's a Kansas at Kansas.
I know. I know. Before that, it's TCU. They come back home and play TCU. So if they can beat TCU and then take one of those 3 against,
which is the one you think? Which is the one of the Iowa State, Kansas? Those were the road games in Houston at home. Which of the?
The default's going to be Houston because it's at home, and they've beaten Houston before, and it was years ago. But I guess it would have to be that one. I'm not going to be bold enough to say they're going to turn around a few weeks after losing by 50 and win at Kansas, but they did beat Kansas last year at home, so I don't know.
Just to say the names, right? It's
crazy.
Just tough. We look around some news and notes. Volleyball with a new head coach, Matt Botsford. He had spent 11 seasons as head coach at Florida Gulf Coast, led them to a great deal of success in his time there, and he is now the new head coach of the Knights. Our Dwayne Jones was there and was part of the conversation with Coach Botsford, and let's hear from Coach.
I'm looking forward to the process, and that's a real big key to me in building a program. Winning is an outcome. I want our players to love the process. Okay, it becomes a byproduct of that process, but we got to love to work. We got to love to prepare, and we will have to do exactly that if we're going to be successful in a conference like the Big 12.
I think, Bailey, Coach Botsford would like some of that equitable Title IX distribution of NIL money, because I don't know what volleyball money they think they're getting allocated that's going to keep them competitive with the schools in the Big 12. They got their work cut out for them in that position, the Big 12 in volleyball.
Yeah, absolutely. But I hope, things are looking up from here. I've always enjoyed UCF volleyball as kind of one of the sports I've been probably one of the more fun atmospheres to go to on campus. And, that wasn't the case this past year. They weren't overly competitive. So I wasn't watching too many games even from afar, but hopefully we can get back to some of the winning from before.
They're also asking for that with women's basketball. 7th straight loss, 90-81 loss at number 10 TCU. Knights now 0-6 in the Big 12. That makes you wonder whether there's some hot seat there for Satia Messer as head coach. They are part of a doubleheader Saturday, men against Houston at noon, then the block party in the afternoon from 2 to 4, and then the women host number 24 Oklahoma State at 4 o'clock at the arena. I know, Bailey, it's on your must-watch every week, Around the Kingdom with Eric Lopez and I, and this week we were talking about football, of course, and let's get a clip of Elo ranting and raving about something.
News breaking this evening that a certain football franchise with a star on the helmet may have reached out to a star coach. So, Elo, here's my question for you. Will Deion Sanders be coaching the Colorado Buffaloes in the 2025 season? Yes or no?
Oh, this is the job. The Dallas Cowboys is the job that I thought Deion might jump for. The question, though, is if he does that mean Dak Prescott's era is over in Dallas? Because I would think Deion would want Shador, but how is Dallas going to move up to get Shador? So I'm going to say no, because I don't think that's going to work out, but I think it's 50-50. I think this is the one job, because if there's anybody that can overrun Jerry from a, getting a lot of attention, it is Deion.
What are you at, Bailey? 50-50 as we recorded that a couple days ago. Still no movement, a lot of rumors, a lot of talk. What do you think?
I don't think it's happening. I'd be surprised, but I guess there's, that kind of stuff happens. I'm surprised a lot. So like Elo said, I don't know if it was a situation where it was one of the teams with the top pick in the draft that could land Shador Sanders. Maybe, but I don't know how. I think he would want to go somewhere where he could have his son as his quarterback, and I don't know if that's Dallas.
More hot takes and interesting conversation around the kingdom you'll find on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel, where also you will find the newest episode of the Pegasus podcast. You guys have an anniversary coming up. Is it a year? You've already hit 250 episodes.
Yeah, this will be our fourth birthday as a podcast. Started it in January of 2021, so turning 4.
Turning 4 in dog years, or that's 28. Is that how that works, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I think so.
Yeah, you'll find that as well on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Hey, Bailey, it's that time again.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Wild Bill, Mr. Gold. We begin with Knights at Blue Sky. Will we see Jalen Sellers play this season? Boy, I'll tell you what, came back, didn't play for very long. A lower back injury is a tricky thing to overcome. They would really benefit from a healthy Jalen Sellers. And Johnny Dawkins saying Thursday, again, day to day. I don't get the feeling that means we're seeing him Saturday.
I wouldn't think so, and I do worry a little bit now. It's like I think we'll see him again this season, but will we see him for an extended period of time, or is it going to be one of those seasons where it's just every time he comes back, it's something that flares up? Because that's just it gets to a tough situation with you, especially when it's a back. Yeah, that's tough.
Another question from this listener, Frost. Will he go 7-5, 8-4, at least 6-6 in a cure bowl? Are you ready? Are you ready to go out on a limb and say 6-6? A bowl
I don't
game,
think so.
Cure? I mean, history repeating itself his first season?
I don't think so. I would think I would love a bowl game. That'd be my dream for the next season. I know, everybody wants to aim higher than that and do a quicker turnaround, and it happens from place to place sometimes, but I think this is a rebuilding situation for us.
At Scott 88513, do you think men's basketball got to make the tournament this year? I've said all along that I thought 10-10 would do it. They're 3-2 now, so they need 7 more down the stretch here. And you got them beating Houston maybe on Saturday, so that's one. And that TCU game.
It's going to depend on if they can get any of those marquee wins, those quad 1 wins, and they're going to have the opportunities for them. So
that they will.
I think they might do it, but it could be one of those things where we're looking again at them being 1 or 2 wins off of where they need to be.
We like to say, ask us anything. And sometimes people take that literally, Bailey. At L025, what are your thoughts on the possible ceasefire Israel has possibly agreed to? Then, if that wasn't enough, be as specific as possible, because you turn to the Sons of UCF for your foreign policy information. I'm going to guess, I'm going to go out on a limb. You're not going to weigh in on this stuff.
The fact that this is the question, this question is being asked on the week that I'm filling in for Adam, that doesn't seem fair.
I will just say that there's never been peace in the Middle East in my lifetime, and I don't believe that it will happen anytime soon. At Harlan 10530, Scott Frost been pretty quiet, accomplishing much but not saying much. What do you think his state of mind is right now? Get inside the head of Scott Frost. What do you think he's thinking? I thought, by the way, we'd see him in a men's basketball game. Come out at halftime, wave. None of that so far.
I think I kind of got the sense that this would be the case from his opening press conference. Was he had to put his head down and go to work and figuring out, the roster they have, going out and adding. I mean, they've added, I don't know how many, 20, upwards of 20 players by now, and build a whole staff. So I think he's just been working, but also he hasn't unlocked his Twitter account. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if we were inside of his Twitter
Eric
account.
DeSalvo has not unlocked his Twitter
right.
for UCF to run things. At UCF_Zach, have we heard if UCF will go back to Frost's previously more open policy when it comes to staff and player interviews? We have heard nothing. Assuming that there may be a return to that, maybe a move away from the more restrictive nature of Gus Malzahn. Second question there, who are you most interested in getting to talk to? To me, anybody, because they're all new. So I talk to anybody and want to get to know new coaches and new players.
Yeah, and I think this is the first person that comes to mind is Tavion Swint, just because him reaffirming his commitment in the way he did with that, the article on Who's USA Today, made me an instant fan, and I'm excited to see how he grows. And he's only obviously gonna be a freshman, but just would be curious to talk to him and get to know kind of his thoughts on how everything's going.
At 2 letters, 2 words. Robert, will the court ruling that determines JUCO players' years won't count against their NCAA eligibility drive more players to the JUCO ranks to try and develop so they can cash in at the NCAA level? Still, that's a big jump, right?
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
I don't know that you'll see too many players opt to go to JUCO if they don't have to. I think a lot of times players end up going to JUCO when they don't have a lot of options at the D1 level or D2 level. I don't think that this is going to be a drastic change for that.
And Riley Carey 16, do you think the NCAA should go back to the old era where there was no portal? Well, that's not happening.
No.
We're talking about changes. I think they do need to move forward on that 5 years of eligibility.
Which I think will happen.
Yeah. At Golden Knight _ the second, will Gus go down as the worst coach in UCF history post Division One? Certainly arguable, right? I mean,
post Division
One squandered a lot of advantages.
Yeah.
More advantages than anybody else had.
In relative to expectations. We've been asked this question twice by JP Gilbert. One of them was, I think, like last February in one of our mailbags. And we kind of skirted around it back then because we didn't want to, go into a season with an active coach and being like, yeah, he's the worst. But I think there's certainly an argument that, squandering opportunities and finishing, 28 and 24, post D1, he's up there.
At UCF Larry 69, one of the things Gus was great at, Gus was great at something, was embracing the space game. I'll give him that. He got into it. He played along. Why do you think other coaches don't do the same? That is an interesting question, right? They don't all lean into it. They'll support the polo and they get asked the obligatory question at a press conference that they love the uniforms and all of that. But they don't lean into it. Who's worn us? Come on, Johnny. Where was the spacesuit today at the presser?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they haven't been asked to do it or if it's just, I don't know. It is interesting. And I do wonder how much of that was Gus doing it because he was really embracing the space game, or if they're like, come on, Gus, can you please embrace the space game? And he's like, all right, fine. I don't know.
At UCF Knights win on an NFL TV broadcast when the player does his introduction, which college gets to take credit for the player? Is it the last team they played for, or maybe do they go with their high school? I'm Dylan Gabriel. I was with fill in the blank. Hey, Mr. Gabriel, you got 5 seconds, not 25.
Yeah, they I think they choose their own. They do whatever they want to say. So it's up to them, honestly. I don't think schools get to claim anything.
What do you think Dylan claims?
Maybe his high school. He might just go with his high school.
He's going to go back to Hawaii, isn't he? He's going to mention his high school, right? He's raised money. He's donated uniforms and things to his high school. He's going to mention that.
Because he was really he was kind of more like a hired gun throughout college. I don't think he really had any loyalty to one program. If it was going to be any of them, maybe Oklahoma, but I don't think he would consider himself an Oklahoma guy.
Does he get inducted into any of those schools' Hall of Fames? He's got the gaudy stats, right? He's going to have some of the best stats ever in college football. Who's inviting him to their hall?
I don't think any of them are.
So he's not. He's going to have the greatest stats in the history of the game, right? And he's not going to be in anybody's athletics Hall of Fame.
Here's what is he going to be? Is he going to be a college football Hall of Famer? Because that's also a crazy question. With the stats he had, he did play for 13 years. It seemed like, but might be in the Collegiate Football Hall of Fame.
He's studying right now how he can play somewhere next year, right? Maybe he's going to play JUCO. Maybe he'll go down. The rules won't play. At Charge on Sports, if you could bring back, here we go. This is Christian's burner. At Charge on Sports, if you could bring back a uniform to use as a throwback, which one would you want to see?
I should have. This was the one I forgot to prepare for, and Christian's gonna be mad at me for it. I loved bringing back the Lance logo this year, and I'd love to see the Lance logo on other colored helmets. But the one that I'm curious to see how they could pull it off in kind of a modern version of it is the Pegasus helmet with the
I like that.
I don't know what years it was. I can't pull that, but I just would be curious to see how they modernize that and make that look the way they would make it look.
All right. And I think Christian was in the chat room. Maybe he can weigh in on which thing that he would like to see.
Do we not get an answer from you?
I like anything gold. Anything gold.
All right, Brian.
Yeah. On Channel N, my inner Brian W. Peterson, and with anything gold. Hey, Clay, are you there? Clay, are you paying attention? Come on to the show. Come on. Clay's been in the background. Clay, hello, Clay Pasco. Occasional star of the award-winning Up All Night. We just gave it an award. It's that time we usually play What's in the Box, but Adam did not leave me a What's in the Box question. So I saw something, I reposted it on Twitter from Quick Trip, a gas station. They said things that should be banned before TikTok, and I wanted to get each of you to weigh in on this. Backing into a parking space. Bailey. Ban? No ban.
No ban. I don't really care. Do what you want.
No ban. As someone who used to drive a truck, backing out was pretty helpful.
What's the appeal of backing in? You're going to have to back out at some point. Why when you get to the destination that's the back in?
It's easier to get out. Like I'm thinking of the future. No, it may be harder to get in. You're essentially doing the same thing. I agree, but it's like anything you're just saving for the future. Like all right, I'm saving this easy get out for the future.
All right, Clay, this one for you. Saying Happy New Year after January 7th. I'll have you know I had a phone conversation today with a colleague, and I got a Happy New Year today, the 16th of January. Now, I had not spoken to this person in 2025. Clay, where are you at on what's your deadline? Do you have a deadline?
There's a 72-hour rule, I feel like. January 1st, January 2nd,
my God.
January 3rd. After that, man, if you're saying Happy New Year, I'm going to give you a look. Like, this guy's still worried about Happy New Year? Like, let's focus on right now, not about what happened.
Bailey?
I don't know about 72 hours, but there is I think it's more of a feel thing. Like, if you tell me at a certain point, I'm like, that feels like it's been a little bit. The 16th is crazy to me. Like, even if somebody says, like, you haven't spoken to them for the whole 16 days, they just missed the boat on it. They missed the boat on Happy New Year. I don't know. They didn't think you were important enough to give you a Happy New Year earlier.
Adam he doesn't like this. And I began last week's show by asking him how his New Year's been going so far. And he didn't like that version of it either. Paying with all pennies. That should be banned, says Quick Trip, before TikTok.
Yeah. Do people do that?
I've never seen anybody pay with pennies.
I haven't either. You've done it or you've seen it?
No. I worked at Chick-fil-A and you get a lot of weird things coming. It's funny to watch when it's not happening to you. Like, you're not waiting in line.
Not happening to you.
And you're not the one at like the register doing it. It's hilarious. It's like, this guy's paying with a penny. Get a little of this guy. But like when it's happening to you or you're waiting behind the guy doing it, then it's like, come on, man.
All right. How about paying at the pump and then going inside the convenience store?
I'm guilty of this. So
Me too.
What are you supposed to do? Pay at the pump and then start the car, pull into a parking space to go in to get your
I think that's
drink? Is that what you're supposed to do?
I think that's what people want you to do, yeah.
I don't find that one to be as egregious.
I don't want to ban myself from doing it, so.
Clay?
Did we lose Clay? Oh, there he is.
Oh, wait, I'm right here.
You're there.
All right. I don't do that. I'll pay at the pump and then I'll run straight inside.
Daylight savings time. It's an abomination that we participate in daylight savings time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that means. That's going to sound dumb, but like, which one?
I don't care which one. Just pick one.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
Just pick one. I don't care which one it is. Just don't move the clocks. Is my position on that.
I agree.
Clay?
I agree.
I've never understood it either. Just, pick something and stick with it.
There you go.
All right. And calling Twitter X. I do not. And I will not. And until Elmo bans
Twitter.
me, I'm not going to.
Are you getting those sponsored, like the merch, the X merch? You're going to pick up an X hat or shirt?
There's X merch?
I'm getting those like on my timeline all the time, and I'm just ignoring them. But
no, if I see you with an X, any kind of X merch, I'm gonna assume like you smell bad. Like, I'm not going near that guy. He probably smells horrible.
That wasn't quite the reaction I had when I first saw it, but yeah, I did also say if I see you wearing one, I will do something, and I'll just not be too over the top here. But yeah, that's crazy.
Clay, thank you for being behind the scenes and helping us with all of the buttons. Everything ran smoothly. Will you be out at basketball on Saturday, Clay?
I will be in before the legislative session starts and committee meetings. We good? No. All right.
Everything ran so smoothly.
I have no idea what you said, but thank you for running everything smoothly behind the scenes. Bailey, thanks for being with us on Suns Live. All right, now you've experienced being a guest and being a host. Which do you prefer? When you're the guest, you're in and out in 15 minutes.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It is a quicker. I enjoyed the long, the full conversation. I enjoyed having guests on, so I'll say co-hosting. I think.
All right. Well, then we should have you back. Thank Dredrick Snelson for being with us as well. Ben Hazel, Clay, thank you. For Bailey Adams, I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
All right. See you, everybody.